hung up that last reed mat. And then over here, if you saw the other video, I had a woven mat that I found at the thrift store for a couple dollars. I like the way this lantern here, let me turn that off. I like the way this lantern, this is also a thrift store find. Look at the way it throws the flower shapes on that mat. Well, what I need to do now is I have been collecting some record albums actually for quite a while. Whenever I find one I like at the thrift store, they're usually $1 or $2. Some of them need the covers repaired because, of course, records act like knives. Over the years, they slice through the cardboard. But let me show you what I'm going to do with this wall. This is the only boards I had that were scraps that were thin enough to use for these little shelves I'm making for the record albums. And this is hardwood oak, so I'm going to sand the old finish off it a little bit. Okay, now I have these pieces sanded down, and I have these scraps. This was a molding that was taken off in the dining room years ago. I'm going to use this, I'm going to be attaching it right against the boards like that, and it's going to give a little tiny edge that should hold the albums in place. I tell you, I'm getting used to using a circular saw. Those things always scared me. But here it is. It's pieces. I'm trying to match them up as best I can. But there's only so much you can do because I only have different size pieces of trim. Okay, it's time to drill some holes and nail these on so that they make that little edge for the record albums. This is even worse than red-green using duct tape. And I'm just using some masking tape to hold it in place. And there's already some holes in this. So I'm going to use those holes that are there already and just drill a little bit through the hardwood on the bottom over here. What I'm also using is loads and loads of, this is like 90, oh God, some of this stuff goes back to the 20s. You know, the 100 years worth of nails and all different kinds of bolts and screws. Whatever I can find that I can use up here for this purpose. Now, some of these aren't perfect. They had some gouges in them when they were taken off. But they make a nice little shelving unit here. And some of them I had to put together the best I could. They don't always match up because I only had so much to work with. So here's a couple more. Tried to match it up. I'm trying to match it up a little bit like with that wave shape. Okay, I'll take you over and show you where these are going to go. So, they're going to go like this. They're going to be attached with brackets on either end over here. I'm trying to use up as much as I can find by the tool bench. Okay, so here we have an album from the thrift store, and I've been collecting quite a few of these, and I look for colorful ones. I like the ones from the 50s, but they also can go into the 1960s. But what's the problem with a lot of albums? Well, the record acts like a knife. Over the years, the record cuts right through, and this record has cut right through this album. Sometimes the albums are glued with a flap in here that's glued to the other side, but this one just had it looks like it just had the paper covering. So what do you do with that? Well, some album collectors that collect vinyl records, they'll buy special strips of preformed cardboard, but I'm not going to bother with that. I'm going to show you what I thought of doing. And maybe some people won't like it and think that's the wrong way to go about it. But I'm going to try it anyway. So what I saved some old cereal boxes. And the reason for that is because they have a natural corner on them. And I'm going to cut through with an X-Acto knife and make a strip, including the corner and a little bit on each side. So just using a metal straight edge, I'm going to go ahead and slice right through this. There we go. Alright. Oh. Okay, so what I have is a cardboard edge. I think it's pretty strong because it's a cereal box. So I'm going to use this to try and repair that album on the top and the bottom. Well, now these are not real valuable albums or anything like that. If you have collectible albums that are valuable, I would not use cereal boxes. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little glue along this edge, and I'm going to put this on, and you can see it's not quite long enough to go right to the end. So I might add a little bit at the end. And then I'm just going to sandwich it, glue it like this, and clamp it so that you can put the record in there and it won't fall out. And I'm using wood glue just because it's a very strong glue. So let's put a little bit of wood glue on. And I'm just going to line this up here like this. This is just my own idea, and maybe it's a dumb idea. We're going to put that on like that. And now I'm going to do the top end over here. Okay, and I want to go out to where the natural corner would be. I'll make sure I don't put it in too far or the record won't slip in there easily. Like that. And now, because I didn't use too much glue, I want to put something on this and weight it down. Okay, so I got it weighted down with some tools, and also I put a clothespin on the corner. Okay, so let's take off the weights. I did a couple little ones here on the ends as well. Alright, so next I have to fold it in and put some glue on this side of it, and then close it back up again and weight it down again. So here's where you have to be careful that you don't get the glue squirting over the edge, because when you close it up, you don't want the two sides of the album to be glued together where you can't put the record in. Okay, it's all weighted down. I got some clips I used here, and just going to let it sit there again for half an hour. The reason I used wood glue is because I thought that would bind the cardboard a lot better than using like Eileen's tacky glue or Elmer's glue. Okay, so let's take off the clips and the weights and see how it looks. Okay, let's take a look at it. And there's the blue edge of the cereal box. Now, the paper's gone, but I could touch that up with a little white paint if I wanted to, off-white. But I'm not worrying about it. I'm not trying to, make these albums perfectly repaired. I just want them to be good enough to hold a record inside of it. So let me show you what I'm going to do with all these vintage albums. You want to slip your hand down in there to make sure that the sides of the album didn't get glued together, and it's fine. Okay, here's the doors to the storage room. I covered them with that matting that I got for a couple dollars at the thrift store, and then I had leftover molding pieces here in the scrap pile, and everything's put up with a solid brace. Put all the record albums on there. Let's take a look at these. These are the thrift store albums. Generally I can find them for $1 or $2. And I got them because I really like the graphics on them. I'm sure I'll like the music too. This is one of my favorites. My dad used to play this one a lot. But I found doubles at the thrift store. This is Sterling Mossman. He was a Honolulu police officer who had a show at the Barefoot Bar and in the evenings. You can see the Barefoot Bar. I think they run past it or something on a episode of the original Hawaii Five-0. This is, of course, the one I just repaired, and some other ones do need repairing. Here's Exotica. I like this cover a lot. It's so simple, but it's really neat. And I have a CD of this, actually Exotica 1 and 2, Martin Denny, and I play it a lot when I'm working on this room. But YouTube wouldn't let me put it on, of course, because it's copyrighted, so they won't let me put a video on with it playing in the background. And here's another neat one, the Polynesians. This is another one I used to hear all the time when I was a kid. My dad would play it a lot, and I would play it a lot too. I want to be able to put these on the stereo and pipe the music down here to the Tiki bar. So I tried to get ones that had decent records in it that weren't scratched up. I haven't heard most of these albums, so I'd really like to hear them, but I have to get the stereo fixed first. There's a waiting list to fix the old hi-fi stereo, and it's a year-long waiting list. But my time should be coming up pretty soon. So there's the wall with the albums. And I'll put the lights out and see how it looks with the lights out here with the colored lights on.